Good afternoon and welcome to the administrative meeting of the Helena City Commission. Madam Clerk, would you call the roll, please?
City Attorney Doctor. Here. City Manager.
Here.
Commissioner Reed. Commissioner Sherwood.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Logan.
Here.
For the record, Mayor Pro Tem Commissioner Dean and Mayor Ponce are both excused.
So for those of you online, welcome and thank you for participating in the City of Helena's City Commission administrative meeting. We are pleased to be able to provide this alternative meeting format in the city's efforts to broaden public participation. Please be patient as we may experience technical difficulties during the meeting. We welcome your public commentary during the meeting. Please read the following tips and guidelines for the app usage in your participation. One thing I might add as we get started, if there are any public comments, the mayor's practice has been for 2 minutes. So Madam Clerk, if you could help me with that, I'd appreciate it. And with that, Commissioners, any comments or questions?
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem Logan. Just 2 things. Following the passage of our electronic meeting policy, I did ask for a couple of clarifications from the city attorney and the clerk's office, and I'm hoping we could bring pieces of it back, or at least a couple of discussion points back at an admin meeting, to which I deferred to the city manager about where it's appropriate. I think there were a couple of things that remained a bit unclear, but I'm hoping that as a commission we can be able to say a bit more clearly going forward. So if there's consensus to have it on the agenda, we can be sure. Okay, great. And I will look forward to when that might be possible. And then the second thing, and this is also just a forward-looking, I had been asked by a couple of members of the community about what is happening at Cruise Avenue, and I have requested the big last engagement piece that had happened. It was several years ago, and so if we could look to a time now that budget has passed, etc., where we might revisit the last efforts around Cruise Avenue and the creative community process we had, and sort of where are we and where are we going with that now that one budget cycle is supposed to the next one is not quite be done, if there is interest from the rest of the commission.
Yes, absolutely.
Thank you. That was all.
Thank you. We've been asked, I don't know if there's a day that's gone by that they asked about what's happening at the Function Junction. We're really that process. It's the fix the lives temporary roundabout, etc. That would be still have that discussion. So, that's the city.
Mayor Pro Tem Commission's last update, and I haven't visited with them for a while, maybe a while. But we've been working with MDT. Obviously, we don't want to put several $100,000 in the rights and turn it home. We're in front of the Department of Transportation staff right now, getting approved for the signage that it says stop signs, pedestrian signs. So I think that's what we're waiting for right now. So I'm putting signage that will take place for the infant. A lot of the time to construct it.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Any issues on from Director Panasi if we have to be online, or is that?
Mayor Pro Tem, I don't actually see that Director Panasi.
Thank you. We'll move on to a appointment review for recommendations from the mayor to be considered on Monday night's meeting. The memo from the mayor says that he's recommending the following board appointments: the ADA Compliance Committee, the reappointment of Deborah Lane to the ADA Compliance Committee as a business owner representative. First full term expires September 1st, 2027. To the City County Airport Authority, the appointment of Kendra Lenhart to the City County Airport Authority as a city appointee. First term expires September 1, 2027. Board of Adjustment, the reappointment of Tracy Egeline to the Board of Adjustment. Second term expires August 31st, 2027. And the reappointment of Tim Holt to the Board of Adjustment. The first full term expires September 30, 2027. And to the City County Planning Board, the appointment of Austin Kidd Anderson to the City County Planning Board as a city appointee. Term expires September 1, 2027.
Just procedural, so the city manager, city attorney is with regards to the board of adjustment, I have to sit on that. Would I have to, am I allowed to vote on these individuals?
Yeah, Mayor Pro Tem, Commissioner Shirtliff, I don't see any reason why that would be a conflict of interest for you.
Thank you.
Any further commission comment? Madam Clerk, any public comment?
Mayor Pro Tem, I have no public comment on that.
Any public comment in the room on the mayor's report? Hearing none. Recommendations from the Helena Citizens Council. By the representative here today. Yes, ma'am.
Hello, Commissioner Lori Fiskero from the HCC. Don't really have a recommendation, but just a point of interest for the group. The HCC will be hosting a gathering at the Civic Center at the end of the month. To aid in that Helena Forward effort, we're going to have representatives from all of the districts to meet with Helena citizens and talk to them about their concerns and ideas for, the planning committee, and encourage them to fill out the questionnaire so we can provide a lot of good feedback for the planning group. And that's it.
Ms. Gerald, question.
What is the exact date?
Oh, I'm sorry, 25th of September, 4:30 to 6:30, and we've got some posters around of it. Advertising this.
Any public comment on the CC report? In the room, seeing none. The report of the city manager.
Mayor Pro Tem, Commissioners, Mayor Pro Tem, with your commission, I'd like to turn it over to Director Dennis to speak to the recent notification that the city was awarded for the Energy Board Award.
Certainly.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. I actually handed out the press release documents and the notification that the City of Helena received the certificate of award for financial reporting for our annual comprehensive financial report. The city has submitted that to the GFOA for this is the 36th consecutive award that the city has received for that annual report. It is a culmination of many hours of work from all of the finance personnel, and then we also rely on external departments to help us with some of the reporting as well. So it really is quite an achievement each year to be able to maintain that award. I just want to thank my staff for all they do for that.
Thank you. Very remarkable tradition continues, obviously.
I think Director Dennis and her team deserve a round of applause. Mayor Pro Tem, that's good.
Thank you, Mr. Burton. So we're on the presentations, and the first presentation is the City County Board of Public Health update with Public Health Officer Brenda.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem, Commissioners, and
Are you two okay if I speak over you?
No problem.
Just a few updates to the commission today. First update is on our 2022 Community Health Improvement Plan. Last week, we posted the annual report to the community for this plan. So the Community Health Improvement Plan is put together in cooperation with the Healthy Together Steering Committee, which includes Lewis and Clark Public Health, St. Peter's Health, Peerview Health Center, United Way of the Lewis and Clark area, and Rocky Mountain Development Council. We work collaboratively to get the plan put together every 3 years. And we are now in our second year of our current plan. The focus areas in the plan have to do with chronic disease, behavioral health, and housing. And at the presentation last week, it was just really incredible to hear the update on the really good things happening in this community in those 3 buckets of work. I bring this to your attention only because the presentation slides have been posted to our website, but it was also recorded by HCTV. So if you were to go out to the HCTV website and go to on demand, the presentation was recorded and you can watch it there. And highly recommend it. It's worth the hour and 15 minutes of your time to hear the great updates that's been happening in this community. So any questions on the Community Health Improvement Plan? And the second item that I have for you today is the showing of the Invisible Shield documentary. So this is a documentary that's currently available through PBS. They've given permission to have us screen at the Myrna Roy. There are 4 episodes, and it's called The Invisible Shield. It's really about public health, past, present, and future. It's an opportunity as a community for us to learn together and then also have a facilitated community conversation. So at each of the episodes are about an hour long, and then directly following the episode, we will have a facilitator available to have a community conversation about what we learned. The goal we're hoping with this to help shift perception of public health, but really learn together what public health does and why that work is so important. I would say that it has some reflections from COVID, but as I reviewed each of these 4 episodes, although many of the examples used come from COVID, I really appreciated the deeper history that they show in public health all the way back to really the beginning days of public health. And so it was a really well done documentary. So we're hoping to see the Myrna filled. Of course, we fully recognize that there are conflicts already. Next Tuesday, September 10th is the first day. There are pretty significant conflicts with the presidential debate happening, but as I keep telling people, that can be reported. Whereas the community conversation, we will not be recording that. And so we do really encourage our community to come out. I did give everyone a couple of cards. So if you could help us spread the word to your networks of folks, that would be really helpful. Again, our hope is to get a broad perspective of community folks to attend and have that discussion with us. Another update from the health department is a new home visiting service. So we were just granted from the Department of Public Health and Human Services funds to do a pilot universally offered home visiting program. So what this will allow us to do is really serve any pregnant family or a family who has just brought a newborn home. We are able to do 4 home visits with anyone, regardless of eligibility, and really in our Tri-County area, because we know St. Pete serves certainly across county lines, and so will we with this program. The 4 home visits will include prenatal if we're able to connect with a family before birth, some prenatal support, but mostly will be post after the baby's born. Breastfeeding support, safe sleeping support, making sure that their car seat is installed properly,
home safety, things like that, just some basics. It will also give us an opportunity to connect families with other resources in the community. And then also we have long-term home visiting services available through the health department. And those do have eligibility requirements though, so we're not able to serve all families with those. Parents as teachers and understanding partnership, but if we have a family that's eligible and they're willing to do more of a longer term home visiting service, we're able to refer right into those after their 4 visits. So really exciting. It's a pilot project. We've not had this service before. We're funded for 18 months, so we'll be collecting some data and evaluating so that we can hopefully continue on if it shows that we are meeting some goals as far as maternal child health and health outcomes for moms and babies.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. Just a question of, do you have an estimate for how many families would feasibly be able to participate in that 18-month period or per year?
Sure. Well, St. Pete's has an average of 700 babies born every year, and that it will be available to every single family. So we hope to serve as many as possible. And then lastly, we are creeping up on respiratory illnesses. So I'm just wanting to let everybody know that we are gearing up for clinics, flu shot, COVID booster clinics, RSV vaccinations for those that are eligible, and that we'll be out in the community with our mobile units. We'll be out in the county with our mobile unit. Folks can make appointments to come into the health department. And of course, we know that vaccines are available, widely available. So encourage folks to get their vaccines from the pharmacy or their primary care provider, for the health and safety and well-being of our entire community. We're encouraging folks that their vaccine is the best protection against those respiratory viruses. And it's the season, so it's the season for sniffles and coughs. Anything to add? Questions that I might?
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. I have been asked by my committee, will you have for families?
We have really good days, and I think they're super bullshit.
Because we assess when we get vaccinations based on their names.
Susan, I have, what you mentioned on the screening of the film, the 10th of September, there were some other dates just for the public online. Mention the other dates.
Thank you for talking. So the 4-part film series will be September 10th, October 8th, November 12th, and January 7th, 6:30 to 8:30 at the Monolith.
Thank you. Commissioners, anything further? Is there any public comment on Ms. Neiman's report?
Mayor Pro Tem, I have no public comment on them.
Thank you, Ms. Neiman. Next up is I believe our community development staff to present on improvements revising the regulation of signs by amending chapter 23, title 11 of the Helena City Code by repealing and replacing chapter 23, general sign regulations in its entirety, and adopting this new chapter 23 sign regulations.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem and Commissioner. So that I don't talk because I have a habit of just rambling, I'm just going to turn it over to Michael Alvarez, planner within our department. He'll provide the update that you requested at one of the last commission meetings.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. So as introduced, I am Michael Alvarez, the planner with the Community Development Department. And tonight, my item is the new chapter 23 of title 11 concerning the regulation of signs. There were there were 3 issues brought up with the proposed. Is it not? Says
Mayor Pro Tem, also for the public certification, apparently the sound in the room isn't that great, so if I could ask everyone to speak up a little bit more, it's appear to be struggling today.
So when this item was brought before the commission, city commission for a public hearing, there were three issues brought up with the ordinance to be more fully explored prior to taking it back to a vote. Two of which, 1123.6H with the asterisks and 1123.6J, have to deal with electronic message centers, and the third more generally with the cap and replace program for billboards. So 1123.6H on your screen here, this section of code requires electronic message centers to be turned off when their business is closed, and it's the middle of the night or the early morning hours, so between 11 p.m. and 6 a.m. If they're within 300 feet of a residential district. This is with the recommended motion language change from a residential use to a residential district that was in the original public hearing. So staff was asked for options here. For keeping lights on after business hours, staff and the zoning commission had talked about dark skies and regulations around turning off illuminated signs after business hours. So early on in the process of crafting this sign code, we took comment from a resident in the South Hills who asked us to strongly consider dark skies and light pollution in our ordinance. Early drafts and conversations about them considered a wide range of topics and possible solutions, including things like regulating the color temperature of signs onto the brightness requirements for cabinet signs. And ultimately, those conversations led to two different sections of code, 1123.6D and 1123.6H, tied to turning off signs after business hours. Effectively, they state that in the residential zone, signs must turn off their illumination after the business close. In all other districts, businesses must turn off just their electronic message centers after they close if it's between 11 p.m. and 6 a.m. More generally, requiring signs to have their lights turned off after business hours was not ultimately recommended, since that hasn't been the practice in Helena or other Montanan cities, although it is not an uncommon regulation nationally. So the options we're bringing forward are to keep H as recommended. This is the recommendation of the zoning commission vetted through their public process. Option 2, which is would be to update the current language for electronic message centers. This is the recommendation brought forward by public comment by Earl Charles of Brandon Solutions. Option 3 would be to scratch section H entirely. This was the recommendation of James Carpentier with the Northwest Sign Council, which is these are all part of your public comment record. And option 4, adopting a requirement for all signs to be turned off after business hours. This is the option that would most strongly align with the Dark Skies initiatives. This would scrap section H and modify section D. Basically is turning the residential requirement into just an all district requirement, just a general requirement. So for the currently adopted code, it's under Title 11, Chapter 23, Section 9B2. This is the option to the current standard that we have. It would need a slight tweaking from animated or changeable copy sign to on-premise electronic message centers in order to sort of fit with the new code in this code section. So this is what option 2 would look like if we were to bring it forward with this revised language per the recommendation of Earl Charles. Option 3, striking the code. I didn't is something that can just be stated and write it up here. Option 4 as a proposed language change would read on-premise sign illumination must be turned off when the business is closed. This could also be modified to overnight hours of 11 p.m. to 6 a.m. or if you saw it. Those are the options. And for people online that are watching, these were printed out as handouts for you as well. So you have them in front of you. For 1123.6J, no portion of any sign may change its message or background in any manner, or by a method of display characterized by motion or animation. This section of code requires electronic message centers to display static images. The trade-off here in conversations with the zoning commission and members of the sign community was to allow a more frequent changing of the message, 2 seconds versus 7.5 seconds for the billboards, in exchange for eliminating the animations and commercials that encourage drivers to watch the sign for a longer period of time.
Mr. Alvarez, Mr. Reed I'm sorry to interrupt. Mr. Reed had a question on section H.
Sorry.
A bit too far along.
Mayor Pro Tem, just a question on H. One of the challenges with this piece is trying to look at all the different options, and I appreciate 2 and 4 are here. Where the packet crashes when you try to scroll, so I can't get to it, but the current proposed language, which would be option 1, is there a way to see that or put that up? Because it just says keep as perfect. Exact distance to not be able to see it or without glasses. So this would be option 1. Then we have the 2, 3 doesn't need to be written into it. So it's the 300 versus the 100 is the distinction, basically. Right.
Thank you, Mayor and Commission. There's a further distinction with the 100 feet. They are not allowed to erect the sign at all. It's not a matter of turning it off. They're not allowed to build that sign if it's visible from a residential district. They're simply different. They have benefits and drawbacks in different ways.
Mr. Alvarez, please continue.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem and Commission. Option 1 for the animation on signs would be to keep it as written or simply to strike it and allow animations. And to be clear, for where Montana stands on this, it is the norm not to allow animation. So in Missoula, Bozeman, Billings, they do not allow animation on their signs. So for billboards, 2311, in the first few iterations of the sign code, there were sunset provisions for billboards across the city. These provisions were met with mixed responses, with some with residents in support and some local businesses and nonprofits against them. Ultimately, the proposal seemed likely to take the city down a somewhat expensive path for taxpayers. A compromise solution was sought that addressed billboards in a way that stopped additional ones from being erected, acknowledged the additional public impact of their transition to electronic message spaces, and offered a way to reduce the total number of billboard locations in town over time as they fell out of use. So in order to carry out this cap and replace program, 2 things needed to happen. First is you need to manage the location and number of signs currently in the city. And the second is that you need to offer billboard owners a way to prove that their sign is currently conforming with the regulations. So In order to do this, the way the code is written, it is through the use of billboard business permits. The billboard business permits are based off the city's business licensing program. Their annual renewal is consistent with the business license requirements in the city. An annual permit program would be a first for Montana. These types of programs exist elsewhere in the nation. A cap and replace program recognizes the economic value of the investment, but provides a mechanism for staff to evaluate yearly conformance of current boards with city code. And the removal of or phasing out of billboards in the city is in line with our growth policy and public comments and discussion as part of the planning process. Not specifically asked for options here.
I think that the challenge I've had with this piece is this helps lay it out a bit more, but the annual permit is a first for Montana, but exists elsewhere in the nation. I'm still struggling to understand, I guess, why no one else does it and why we will do it. And thus far, the explanation has primarily been that somebody had experience in another jurisdiction that did this, which to me is not, I'm trying to sort of grasp the annual permit, which seems to be a bureaucratic burden to people who have to do this. And I understand the cost recovery piece. I understand it's consistent with business licensing, that helps. I'm trying to make the connection for how this makes sense for both us as a city and for the people who have to use this process. So anything that we can do to shed some light on that would help me. That's the one piece I'm stuck on.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem and Commission. Yeah, so
I'll step in, Mike. Mayor Pro Tem. So you can blame me. I'm the one that could have brought this as an option, and it was a compromise between the public position that they wanted all boards down in the city, and then recognize there's an economic investment that these board companies made with their infrastructure and their signs, and it is a mechanism to use. I don't want to say penalty. Penalty is too strong, but it is a trade-off for us to recognize these boards as being conforming in their location. And a way for us, if the permit is not renewed yearly, provides an opportunity for us to require non-conforming boards that don't get the yearly permit to force them to come down. And it's the only mechanism that we saw to kind of drive the compromise or drive the ability to have non-conforming boards removed, rather than just saying no new boards in the city are allowed and then start removing boards in the city, which becomes even more costly because we have to pay for the loss of the economic benefit. So there's a way for us to allow the board companies to recognize their investment, but yet the trade-off being yearly permit, that would be a trigger if they don't pay that yearly permit to now require boards to come down if they're not in compliance. Not used so much in the Northwest, I recognize that, but used in a lot of communities. My previous one, as an example, that have some of the unique characteristics that Helena has: view sheds, the environment, those surroundings. And it was a tool for us to ensure compliance. I will say, in the 20 years that our program was instituted, county did that, 2022, 0 boards were forced to come down. So we didn't use the tool to make the boards come down. It was a tool for us to ensure that boards remain compliant with our code. And that's the reason for the yearly permit. It gives staff an opportunity to put eyes on the inventory, put eyes on the boards to ensure that they're all still compliant.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. Just a quick thought. That is extremely helpful. Thank you. I appreciate it. Just a quick question, and I'm cautiously optimistic that all of our new software and the ERP, whatever it's called, is going to make this easier. But I know that the thought of renewing car registration will give people hives. And do we have a process for annual renewal that will be easy, online, quick, painless, or
All Mayor Pro Tem Commission, all the above. So we will use our software to the fullest extent. We're going to mirror exactly how business licenses are done. We're just going to do it in the plan environment. Yearly renewals, you'll get a notice, you'll get an email, you'll get it sent out. You'll get instructions to go online, you pay it, and you get a new license for the year.
Mayor Pro Tem, may I just state for the record that license plate renewals are done to the Montana Department.
Mr. Alvarez, you seem like you were itching to say something.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem and Commission. I also just want to reiterate that we wouldn't be the first community that has done a cap. We're actually trying to do a sunset. Other communities were unsuccessful with their sunsets. Their caps are in place, hard caps, or onerous one-time fees would discourage the billboard companies for keeping their actual physical poles and things up to date, modernized and that kind of thing. And we were trying to craft something where we don't have aging equipment that's decrepit and don't have a means for them to maintain something that they're still allowed to sell and update. So the cap and replace, the replace is actually important here, where we don't have something that's 60 years old and just sort of decaying around. This is not meant to lean overly harshly on the billboard companies. They should still be able to operate successfully in our town under here. We're just stopping the further proliferation.
Mr. Alvarez, you have further in your presentation.
Mayor Pro Tem and Commission, I am at the end of my presentation.
Commission,
Commissioner Circle, thank you, Mr. Pro Tem. Thank you for their elements for this. I know you've put a lot of time and effort for this over 18 months, so thank you very much to you and your team, and to Director Brick as well. Regards to this permit, when I saw billboard permit, business permits, my thought was well, now is every billboard going to be considered its own business? And will this affect, I guess I'll be making some comments here, possibly some questions, but I guess when it comes down to the billboard business permits, I think that's probably semantics. It's probably you're just charging the one business for all the billboards that they have. Do you know how much we're estimating per year what we'll be charging these businesses per billboard?
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem and Commission. It's going to be roughly $10,000 total for the city and all the billboards. There's around 100 billboards, 100 to 110, and the average fee will be about $100.
Oh, okay. It's going to be per sign. That big dollar. No, yeah. So for each so and then those funds will be used to staff. What would that those funds?
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem and Commission. Yes, they would help to cover staff time for running the program.
And then I do appreciate your point as well, is that having it streamlined, automatic, online, for the investigation.
Mayor Pro Tem Commissioner, so we wouldn't have proposed it if we didn't know and recognize that we have a program and software to handle it seamlessly. If this was gonna be a manual operation, which we have done in the past, it was a very arduous and time consuming and manual process to keep track of the boards we had. But yeah, if we didn't have the software, we wouldn't have even had to compose this.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. Just to clarify, from the last meeting and to now, the two pieces I was stuck on, one was the annual fee, which we clarified. I appreciate a bit more understanding about what that is and why we're doing it. And the other is related to option H. And again, I really appreciate being able to see the difference and to have it laid out the way it is. I think it is unfortunate that these two pieces, at least for me, needed to be explained a bit more, holding up a massive amount of really great work that I think has been recognized by many, many people as an excellent example of collaboration. So I apologize for my part in needing just a little bit more. This is very helpful, and I just want to go back to section 8 one more time to make sure I understand it. If I look at the slide, you had option 2. And I wanted to, it said currently adopted code. I wanted to see the proposed option 1 right on top of it to compare those two, 1 and 2 functionally. I would be changing 100 to 300. Okay, so the difference between option 1 and option 2 is 300 feet. Residential, so it's about time and distance in essence. And the proposed language is more restrictive in terms of distance than option 2 is.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem and Commission. It's more restrictive in distance. It is more permissive in what is allowed to be built.
Okay. So when we vote, if possible, if we could see option 1, 2, 3 obviously requires something, and 4 in a most easily comparable format for the public, again, the packet is very challenging. I think that would be really helpful and would allow, at least when I'm prepared to vote, to articulate my explanation. Because I think that's where I've had the hardest times. It's things like apples to be and trying to figure out how to compare the two. So it's been a struggle, but I appreciate this. I think I have all the information I can for it to make sense.
What are you?
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem and Commission. I am finished.
I do have one question for the director, right? Just for you asked the first question of the adult permit. We used permit. Not sure I understood. But something about the public relative to billboards.
Correct. Mayor and Commission, so our Mayor Pro Tem Commission, so the public sentiment is, and we've heard it either through the growth policy or the public engagement or comments through our planning exercises that we've done, is that there's a desire from the general public to have boards removed or not allowed in the city. The adverse to that being, we hear from the board companies that they would prefer that we have boards and have more of them in the city. So we felt this cap and replace was a compromise between both positions. That, okay, we're going to cap them with the number we have now, allow boards to keep them. We'll classify them as conforming signs, regardless of what our standards are, provided you have the yearly permit. If you fail to get your yearly permit, then that's our mechanism to require them to come down. But the key piece of that cap and replace is the option to replace boards. You have a valid permit, you're allowed to replace it. Even in code, you're allowed to move it. Provided you bring a board down, you're allowed to relocate the board to another conforming location. So it's not just a cap, it's allows to replace and relocate if you so desire, provided you have a valid permit for that board. I hope I didn't make it more confusing, which typically they, others.
So one last question in relative to, essentially no more boards in the city.
Mhm.
Does that apply to newly annexed property?
So we didn't, thank you, Mayor Pro Tem Commission. So we didn't necessarily craft that into the language of the ordinance so much. I think maybe we did at some point or to some extent, but the theory behind that would be if we annex property, then that we could take care of that board's location either as a condition of annexation, either be it has to come down if we're going to annex a piece, or that the condition of annexation would be to allow that board to stay, and we just so the cap goes up as we grow from annexation. But we would handle that as a condition of annexation. Either way, either it stays or it goes.
Thank you for that. So further discussion. So relative to this proposed change to the sign ordinance, is there any public comment, either in the room or online? Any public comment on this proposed ordinance change?
Pro Tem, I have no public comment on that.
Thank you. We will, thank you, Mr. Alvarez and Ms. Brink. We will move on to department reports. First, dealing with a quick plan of the city's interest in the south 13 feet of block 20, block 1 of the original town site of the city of Helena, West Park, Montana. Joseph Varela and David Brown is one of their entities.
Mayor Pro Tem, is it okay if I do the presentation?
Yes,
Our office was the one that did the research again into the ownership of the property in question. So this is to ask you to consider setting a public hearing for this coming Monday to consider quit claiming an interest that the city owns in a piece of property in lot 20 that is 13 feet in length. And an awkward piece of property that we learned we owned just recently. Joseph Varela and David Brown thought they owned it, went to do a boundary line readjustment, discovered they did not own the piece of property, though they've been paying taxes on it for 34 years. So they are asking the city if we would consider quit claiming the interest to them. We queried the department, city manager, and there's no need or desire to manage this piece of property. So the proposal from the city would be to quit claiming this piece of property to David Varela Joseph Varela and David Brown. This is just asking for your consideration, put it on the agenda for Monday. It's already on the agenda for Monday. City manager says.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. I the crash again. Where is it?
Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you. It is a piece of property that's within lot 20 of section. Yeah, and the address itself is the hair property. If you know where the hair property. I think that's an easy way of describing it.
It's to the south of that.
From the commission. It's public comment on this matter of quit claiming city's interest in the 13 feet. Either online or in the room.
Mayor Pro Tem, I have no.
And so, last but not least, the acceptance of the in-kind, I got this correctly. Acceptance of the in-kind donation from American Legion's baseball organizations for improvements to Kendrick Legion Field. Director Smith.
Yes, thank you, Mayor Pro Tem and Commission. We're here today to speak to a project that was done, a capital improvement project that was done by one of our strongest partners, the American Legion Baseball Group organization. And what they did was they did an upgrade of turf for Kendrick Field, where they hold a multi-year lease, an exclusive use agreement. And they did so with zero city funds, almost a $250,000 project to upgrade the field from grass to turf. And I have a few pictures we're going to show to you after we have John Doran speak a little bit. He's online. He's a representative of the Legion, is going to speak a little bit. Then I'm going to show you a few pictures before we bring this before you on Monday, September 9th at a commission meeting. John?
Great. Can you all hear me? Yes, thank you very much. I appreciate the opportunity to speak to you today about the project at Kendrick Legion Field. My name is John Doran. I'm a volunteer coach with the American Legion Baseball Program and have been for the past 3 years. I've been involved in baseball in our community for quite some time. This was the single largest project that the Helena American Legion Baseball Program has ever undertaken. As Director Smith mentioned, it was $250,000, almost $300,000 that we independently raised within this community through sponsorships, advertising, and partnerships. We did this project in 19 days. It was a very fast-track project. We basically went from sun up well past sundown for 19 straight days. And it was really more about playability than it was aesthetics. And obviously we have 35,000 square feet of artificial surface that we installed in all of foul territory at home plate and in the baselines. But it's more so about playability. We also installed 35,000 square feet, or excuse me, 35 tons of Major League Baseball clay in the infield and laser leveled all of that. So it plays incredibly well. I don't think I saw a single bad hop the entire summer, which is certainly nice for our infielders and players. We also installed new sprinklers in the infield grass and around backside of the infield to allow us to better manage the moisture for the infield grass as well as the dirt. We rebuilt the pitcher's mound, and there's a picture, as you can see, showing all of the foul territory and home plate. That is just after the project was completed on day 19. We also rebuilt the pitcher's mound to Major League Baseball specifications. We painted the inside and facades of the dugout, which had never been done, and it really added to, I think, again, the aesthetics. We also installed brand new safety fencing in front of the dugouts, which will keep not only our hometown boys, but our visiting teams very safe in the dugouts. One of the most important aspects of this program was we installed new drainage systems all along the dugouts and the backstop. This had been a pretty significant problem in years past when we would get very large rainstorms. The dugouts would actually flood because that was the natural drain for them. And this year was the first year in at least 6 years that I can remember that the dugouts did not flood. And so that's a really big component of the project as well, which typically doesn't get seen because that's underneath the turf itself. And then we also painted the home run fence. All in all, this was, again, a major project. And I really cannot thank the leadership of City Manager Burton, Parks Director Smith, and Park Superintendent Marr. Your leadership and support from the concept of this project all the way through the end was really inspiring for us. And I cannot say enough good things about Park Supervisor Pat Marin. I can honestly say that this project would not have gotten done without Pat's constant assistance and expertise. And he just was a wonderful resource for us at all levels of the project. And I think this really underscores the strong partnership that Helena American Legion Baseball has with the City of Helena, and we can't appreciate it enough. Baseball is really at its highest point in popularity in Helena. We have approximately 100 kids who try out every year. This is more than any other AA school or town in Montana. And the Babe Ruth baseball program is seeing its highest participation ever. So baseball is in a really great place. Kendrick Legion Field has never been in a better place. It's playing incredibly well. And we're really excited about what this proposes for the future for us. This year, we were able to host the AA state tournament at home, in addition to several other non-conference tournaments. It's our hope that we can continue to be a host of the state tournament and in time host a regional tournament for Helena and the state of Montana. And this is a really big driver of economics in our town. Just to give you a little perspective of what the turf and the field project was able to do on day one of the state tournament, our gate receipts were actually more than we expected for the entire tournament. And that was on day one of day 5. I've been in this community since 2006, and I've never seen more fans packed into Kendrick Legion Stadium than I did for the state AA tournament. So again, I can't thank the city enough. It's a wonderful partnership, and we just look forward to continuing to make you proud.
Thank you, Mayor Brooks. Thank you, John. Mayor Pro Tem Commission. One thing that we are working with the Legion on as our partner, we put almost $250,000 into this project. Just completed all the funds. We're going to be working with the Legion to get them relief for 3 years of their 5-year contract, $15,000 per year for a total of $45,000 over 3 years, so they can replenish their funds. And it's a win-win for the city and the Legion. We look forward to meeting Monday, September 9th.
Just a brief comment, this is awesome, it looks fantastic, it's great to see people, in there were some years where it's going through the stand, so it's great to see, and I appreciate the hard work of everybody involved.
And the best part, Mayor Commissioners, I thank you, is the economic impact of the city long-term to hosting these bigger tournaments. It's incredible, it is an incredible opportunity for the city, and we want to thank the Legion for being our partner.
It's very much hats off to the Helena baseball team with the senders, the reps, and the leagues, and to Manager Burton, Director Smith, and others who helped with this. It's incredible to raise $250,000 here with this field, and it's added up to one of the games. It was incredible. It was great to see all the ball players coming to Helena. That ballpark alone has one of the best views. Now it's got one of the best views in the city. And to be a partner in that is someone who grew up playing baseball their whole lives. I'm really excited for this partnership and to see it grow. Because we've always talked about Helena being a spot. We are centrally located, but hosting more tournaments, more events and conferences. I think baseball being one of them, I think it's pretty exciting to have, and it can be the start of more tournaments being based here.
Director Smith, further.
That is all I have today.
Right, thank you, Director, and thank you, Mr. Doran, for your comments in the presentation, and the Legion for the incredible gift and what it's done for the field and for help. So, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Is there any public comment on this part of the agenda? Even with the Legion's in-kind donation, either online or in the room.
Mayor Pro Tem, I have the public.
Mayor Pro Tem, just from a procedural point of view, we'll have the commission officially accept this at Monday night's meeting, which Director Danielson then has all the T's crossed and I's dotted for the upcoming live. Right?
Mayor, that this is a donation to the city, a very generous donation to the city. It's an asset that will have to report. And it's nice that they gave this wonderful presentation tonight. It's beautiful, beautiful work. So we're happy to add it to the asset list.
Thank you. So, we're to that part of the agenda. If there is anyone that has any public comment that they would like to offer for anything not on the agenda. Public comment.
I guess I'm not sure how the procedure works, but
And if you would just state your name and.
so I'm Gina Sabatini, and I'm here with Teresa Bonata and Carlin. Mayor Collins had suggested we stop by at some point to kind of let you all know what we've been working on for the majority of this year, which is to bring a cancer support community chapter to Helena, which involves us eventually having a building and providing in-person services to people who have been impacted by cancer. I'll just kind of, you guys want to shoot around brochures here a little bit. I guess we don't really have much to ask for at this point, but just the knowledge that this is a community-wide effort that we're doing. We've started with doing a survey of the Helena community to see if the need was truly there to bring these services here, and overwhelmingly that came back with the need for it to be here. And we have been working on a business plan. We've just today actually met with both Benefice and St. Peter's formally to ask for their support of it. Because we're kind of in conjunction with medical care. This is kind of more the wellness, psychosocial side of what happens when people are impacted by cancer. So we're hoping that, you know, we're just volunteers with this effort, but we have a ask to the Board of Trustees of Cancer Support Community Montana to authorize Helena to be a chapter that they'll be addressing at their October meeting. So kind of the time frame that we're working on, and once that formal acceptance comes, that's when we look to bring on a staff person and really start to look for a building location to house this. So yeah, I think as the coach Teresa just mentioned, all the services of Cancer Support Community are free to those who participate. So it is going to definitely be a community-wide effort to provide it here. We all have our different reasons for being involved. Mine is just that I have been involved with this organization for about the last 4 years in organizing a golf tournament for them, and seeing the amazing programming that they have that happens at the Bozeman chapter and the Missoula chapter has just made me feel like Helena deserves to have that too, especially since a lot of people do leave the area for some part of their cancer care. It feels like sort of as a minimum, we should be able to offer the support side, the emotional support, the wellness side here in town without them having to leave for that as well. I don't know if you each want to kind of introduce your, or you want me to, okay.
Wrap it up.
Okay. Yes. So Erin is a recent breast cancer survivor, so she's been kind of representing that side of helping us with the business plan and that. And Teresa was a caregiver to her spouse who she lost to cancer a few years back. So the programming that's offered is for survivors, the families, the caregivers. It's for everyone. So it really does impact a lot of people in our community. So yes, that's just a quick update. So as you maybe see things happening in the community, we wanted to just let you know what has been going on. And if you have any questions, I can certainly answer those.
Thank you, ma'am, for stopping by and please stay in touch. Sounds like you've got a connection with the mayor, and so
great.
Thank you very much.
Okay, appreciate it.
All right. So, anything further from the commission? Mr. Manager, do you have everything you need?
Mayor Pro Tem, yes, I do. Commissioners.
Okay. With that, this meeting is adjourned.